Denmark has taken over the 6-month rotating presidency of the EU. With the sovereign debt crisis still very much at the top of the agenda, Copenhagen will be seeking to preserve unity among the 27 member states as far as possible after Britain broke ranks at the end of last year. Outside the Eurozone itself, Denmark is also keen to push a green investment programme. Reuters chief Denmark correspondent John Aker joins me now from our Copenhagen bureau. John, is there anything a small non-Eurozone economy can realistically achieve in terms of the debt crisis?
Well, experts are of the opinion that really not very much. Now, the Danish Prime Minister, Helle Thorning-Schmidt, has built up a certain amount of goodwill and high expectations, in fact, for the Danish presidency. But today, maybe more so than normally, things are really in the hands of the big countries, France and Germany, and of course, of the Council President, Herman van Rompuy, who is in charge of drafting the Euro fiscal pact, which is the main thing on the agenda for Europe right now.
So there is a realization in Denmark that all the big decisions are going to be taken outside of Denmark?
I think certainly. Denmark, of course, says that it will do everything it can to contribute to getting Europe out of the crisis. But I think there's a realistic understanding that its capacity is limited.
And what can Denmark contribute?
Well, as I mentioned, this honest broker role is something. I think Denmark does have a reputation as a fairly good and efficient European Union member, despite the obstreperous nature of its citizens who have voted a few times against closer integration in Europe.
And what do people, John, think about unity in general, given the British veto in Brussels last month?
Well, the Prime Minister here definitely sees it as part of her task to try to prevent Britain from straying too far from the fold. How she'll do that remains to be seen. But I think the Prime Minister, Thorning-Schmidt, will definitely do everything she can to make sure Britain doesn't remove itself too far from Europe. Denmark joined the European Community in 1973 at the same time as Britain, and of course has always tried to put itself on the same side as Britain and Germany, for that matter, in European affairs.
In terms of enlargement under this presidency, talks continuing with Turkey and Iceland, Montenegro, Serbia are also in the frame. Is expansion still possible, or is that going to be pushed to one side given the debt crisis?
Some progress can probably be made on those points. Denmark will be followed by Cyprus in the second half of 2012. So it remains to be seen where negotiations with Turkey would go in the second half of the year. So perhaps for that reason alone, Denmark will try to make some headway in the negotiations with Turkey. But Denmark will not be finalizing anything on expansion.
Sure. And I mentioned at the top, John, Denmark pushing this green investment agenda as part of its presidency. Any progress likely on that front?
I'm not sure whether there'll be time to do much on that with the debt crisis still at the top of the agenda. Denmark, of course, has a large industry linked to green energy with its wind turbine industry, and will do what it can to further to promote investment in green technology and jobs.
Okay, John, thanks a lot. John Aker from our Copenhagen bureau. Join us here on Insider for regular in-depth coverage and analysis of the Eurozone crisis. That's it for now, though. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.